We should be, in my view, repealing something called Section 230, which gave, platforms on the internet immunity because they were thought to be just pass-throughs, that they shouldn't be judged for the content that is posted. But we now know that that was an overly simple view. We need to remove the immunity from liability, and we need to have guardrails. We need regulation.
Now, host Michael Smerconish looked shocked by what Hillary Clinton was saying there, and he should look shocked. Anyone listening to that should look shocked because, as you heard, Hillary Clinton is calling for the repeal of Section 230, which of course would lead to some serious censorship on social media. But as you're about to hear, that seems to be what Hillary Clinton wants.
We should be, in my view, repealing something called Section 230, which gave, platforms on the internet immunity because they were thought to be just pass-throughs, that they shouldn't be judged for the content that is posted. But we now know that that was an overly simple view, that if the platforms, whether it's Facebook or Twitter X or Instagram or TikTok, whatever they are, if they don't moderate and monitor the content, we lose total control.
We lose total control, and that's what this seems to really be about. The ability to control a narrative or the narrative. And when you, back in the day, had 4 major networks and it was far easier to control the narrative, not a problem. But once you have social media where obviously independent news organizations tend to thrive, or independent individuals who do citizen journalism tend to thrive, well then it's a lot more difficult for anyone in the federal government to control any narrative. And I think that's what this is really about.
Yeah, and so look, they have their excuses, and then every once in a while they take their mask off and tell you why they actually are doing it. So their excuse is, oh my God, I'm so worried about the children. The children are using the phones too much. Now, okay, the reason why they start with that is because that resonates with a lot of people. Oh, my kids are on the phones too much screen time. I'm worried about all this envy that Instagram creates. It's legitimate concerns, right? But then they pivot instantly, because that's not what this is about at all. This is about control, as she accidentally admitted there. Well, what would they want to control? Well, obviously the message. If you're wondering, what do you mean? Are they controlling the message now? Well, again, if you're uninitiated, meaning that you watched television news and read the papers your whole life, you don't realize that, yes, the establishment has a message that they control, and they put that out through all of mainstream media, and no one's allowed to go outside those guardrails. And if you go outside their guardrails, as I did it on MSNBC, you're zapped, right? And it's not just me. In my book, Justice is Coming, I talked about Phil Donahue, Ashley Banfield. There's so many different examples. If you go outside of the narrative. Now, guys, it's not conspiratorial, it's just groupthink. They think, Joe Manchin, when he backs killing the paid family leave, is moderate because he's from West Virginia, et cetera. Now that's just misleading because that actually polls at 16%. It's a radical corporate position. They take corporate positions and they call them moderate, right? That is one of the ways that they serve their donors. So now, but you don't have to take our word for it because we have several clips to show you guys what they're actually concerned about when it comes to social media. Then we're gonna get into the hard questions of, but wait, aren't they right that a lot of ghouls and goblins will come out if you allow for this kind of freedom? Okay, that's an interesting conversation. But first, let's show you Hillary Clinton on TikTok on why she's concerned about it. So let's go to that clip.
I have had many conversations, as you have had, with a lot of young people over the last many months now. And you're right, they don't know very much at all about the history of the Middle East, or frankly about history. Propaganda is not education. Propaganda, on whether it's TikTok or in the classroom, is actually the opposite of education. Anybody who is teaching in a university or anyone who is putting content on social media should be held responsible for what they include and what they exclude. And so much of what we're seeing, particularly on TikTok, about what's going on in the Middle East is woefully false, but it's also incredibly slanted, pro-Hamas, anti-Israel.
So you do want to control a political message. and very specifically about Israel. They're not hiding it. She said it on a very popular morning show that the entire establishment watches. And so now all of a sudden we're not talking about it. Wait, is Jenny online seeing too many models and thinking that's real? We're talking about Israel and how the message has to be controlled. Now notice that she never said anything about mainstream media, because they're perfectly happy with the propaganda on mainstream media. They're unhappy with what's like that there isn't propaganda on social media, that there's actual real human voices that they don't have control over, and it's driving them crazy. Now, if you think, well, maybe she's just one random, no. Now let's show you Mitt Romney, obviously United States Senator, talking to Anthony Blinken, our Secretary of State. When they're talking about banning TikTok, what do they bring up? Let's find out.
Some wonder why there was such overwhelming support for us to shut down potentially TikTok or other entities of that nature. If you look at the postings on TikTok and the number of mentions of Palestinians relative to other social media sites, it's overwhelmingly so among TikTok broadcast. So I'd note that's of real interest, and the president will get the chance to make action in that regard. Typically, the Israelis are good at PR. What's happened here? How have they and we been so ineffective at communicating the realities there and our point of view?
So there they are, corporate Republicans and corporate Democrats agreeing. We got to shut down TikTok because we're concerned about the children. We're concerned about Israel. Israel's normally good with PR, propaganda.
Yeah, I know.
But now real people are allowed to talk online. We have to find a way to get this back under control. We're losing control.
That Mitt Romney video.
That was super telling.
I mean, yeah, 100%, super brazen in what the real motivations are. And guys, just think about how powerful video is in helping you to understand something devastating that's happening in the world. Today is the 1-year anniversary of Hamas's attacks on October 7th against Israelis. And when videos of those attacks were put out there, when the public was able to see the atrocities that were being committed against civilians, that was powerful. And that led to a tremendous amount of sympathy toward Israelis and Israel as a whole. But following that, Israel's response, which went above and beyond anything that I think they should have done, led to a lot of civilians on the Palestinian side in Gaza dying, many children dying, many mothers dying. And those images and those videos have been spread all throughout social media. They want to stop that from happening because those are powerful images and it provides evidence of the brutality that has been basically used against the Palestinian people, okay? Not just Hamas, okay? I'm not talking about Hamas. I'm talking about ordinary Palestinian civilians. They want to hide what's really happening on the ground there.
Yeah, and so the Israelis put together a 45-minute video of the atrocities of October 7th, a couple months after it happened, and they gave it to the American media, and they almost kind of insisted that everyone watch it, otherwise you're anti-Semitic, right? So all the anchors on cable news watched it, and then the next couple of days and weeks, they kept referring back to, oh my God, we saw this video, and if you saw what we saw, it's just so horrific what happened. And all of that is actually true. That video is true, and horrific things happened on October 7th. Our heart breaks for those poor civilians that went through that. So now the rest of it is also true. On the other 364 days of the year, the Palestinians were obliterated. So 60 to 70% of the buildings are gone, and 90% of the people are displaced. And what you started to see in social media was things you were literally not allowed in mainstream media, which is Palestinian suffering. Israeli suffering you can see all day, 24 hours a day. And in fact, they edit it and produce it and hand it to the anchors who then tell you about it over and over and over again. And again, nothing wrong with that because those are innocent civilians. But when it comes to Palestinian suffering, not only do they not show it in mainstream media, now they're saying, well, we got to ban social media. Because now people are seeing Palestinian babies that are dead. There's over 700 dead Palestinian babies, let alone 25,000 children and women, right? Well over that number. So, but we keep seeing, we saw the headless baby, we saw the starving children, and they're like, bottle it back up. We don't want this social media showing real pictures of dead and suffering Palestinians, Arabs, and Muslims, because the people in charge don't want that, and they're losing control of the media. And guys, this isn't just about Israel. They're losing control of the message overall. Now, before, when I used to talk about money in politics as a person on the left, when I got to the right wing would say, because they had heard the propaganda on their outlets, and mainly on television and mainstream media, oh, money in politics is fine, it's freedom. And you know what? You want to do public financing? No, that's just taking our money and giving it to politicians. I heard Sean Hannity say that 200 times. No, I'm against public financing. It should be privately financed, and all of our politicians should work for private interests that are not our interests at all, but just serving the rich. That was because they didn't have social media. Now when I talk to the right wing, the reaction is completely different. They're like, oh, money in politics sucks. It's total corruption. And by the way, if you notice, and this is why I give MAGA a lot of credit, and it drives some of our viewers crazy. So all their lies I break down 2,000 times over. But if you notice, they turned on Mitch McConnell before the Democrats turned on Nancy Pelosi. Both McConnell and Pelosi have collected over $1 billion in corporate funding, okay? From all the different lobbyists and donors, and oftentimes the very same people, right? And so we say McConnell's evil, they say Pelosi's evil, but MAGA first went, oh yeah, it turns out McConnell's evil too. And they started realizing now I wish they'd realize it about Trump too, but my point here is because of social media, even with the downsides, which we'll get to in a second, the upsides are invisible. Almost no one talks about them because mainstream media hates social media. Not just because they can't contain a message, but for them in particular, it is their opponents. It's their competitors in the marketplace. So the politicians and the donors and mainstream media will give you 100% negative PR about social media in order to try to bury it because they're worried they're losing control. And I want to thank Hillary Clinton for confessing that.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.